call out all the things that they hope you have, but you know you don't yet. It's like, do you have a website? I don't have a website yet. Do you have a demo? I don't have a demo video yet. Have you spoken anywhere? I've actually spoken nowhere yet. And you basically build like a risk tour. Like, I'm a risk, and you can leverage your weaknesses into a whole freaking speaking tour, eventually business.
Welcome to the podcast that helps speakers and writers like you grow their impact and income. This is Stage, Page, and Screen. My first question to you is, you are one of the few speakers I know whose on-stage persona absolutely matches their off-stage persona. I feel like for most of us as speakers, we have to work intentionally over a period of years to close that gap. Is that something you intentionally sought out to do, or how do you think about the difference between an on-stage and off-stage persona?
First of all, massive compliment. Thank you. Because that, to me, is always the conundrum of like, am I the same person up there as I am not up there? Because I hope I'm the same person up there as when I'm not up there. And literally that is a guiding question since I got into speaking a decade plus ago. So thanks for this. And yes, it was intentional, because before I got into speaking professionally, I was just geeking out following anyone who was a professional speaker that would give me a minute or two of conversation and insight about the business. And so when I'd see people rock it on a stage, and then I'd go up to them after, like, hey, I'd like to get into this someday. Could we have a conversation? Pretty much all of them said yes, but not many of them like actually followed through when I followed up. So, I mean, maybe that's on me. They're like, oh, this guy, I hear we're supposed to ghost him. It's Blake Fly from Canada. So, hey, I want to acknowledge that. But more importantly, when people did respond and I ended up in conversation with them, and I felt the impact of, whoa, you're the same person here as you were there. That was a cue to me of how can I also be this way if I get into this business someday? Because I hear it's super challenging, intense, and competitive. So I don't even know if I ever will.
Well, I feel like the difficulty is to bring one's off-stage persona on stage. I mean, I can think of many situations where someone would think of themselves or aspire to be, say, a speaker who wove in humor into their message. You go to lunch with them, they're absolutely hilarious. But then you see sort of the more scripted on-stage presentation, and you go, why isn't she as funny up there as she was a couple hours ago at lunch? So how did you bridge that gap and were able to so quickly be comfortable being totally you up there?
It's timely. I was just working with someone, helping them build a talk moments ago, and I was talking about this. So I'll use this as my response, which is when I began speaking, I built my talk so selfishly, meaning I built it with things that would put me at ease, would make me happy, and would force me to be myself because of what it was that I was weaving into the talk. So a few examples. In my college talk to students beginning post-secondary school, in the first like 5 minutes, first 2 minutes, I hold up my childhood teddy bear as an example of things you bring with you when you like go to a new school and university. I do that because, one, I know it'll get a chuckle. Two, it gives me a really fast litmus test on the audience. They're like, what? Why is this guy holding up a bear? Or if they're like, oh, amazing, they're just loving it. Like, okay, we're friends. This is going well. And third, I can't think of a more base level security blanket than literally my childhood teddy bear. So it's checking off so many boxes professionally, personally, humorously, psychologically in 2 minutes flat. And then I literally prop the bear on the stage. It's like beside me for the whole keynote as a symbol for like relationships in your life and who you bring with you when you go to this new land called university. But it just gives me so much data, Josh Shipward, very quickly about who I'm being in that moment and what I'm getting back from these people.
So that's kind of some of the content too. And how do you think though about your tone? Because that's the thing that, again, you unusually, more than anyone I've ever seen, your tone, your emotions, your psychological and mental state up there seemed as comfortable from the get-go as if you were talking to a couple very close friends in a coffee shop. That is unusual. Again, I think back to my years as a speaker and I go, I had to struggle for 3 or 4 years to get to the coffee shop version of me and tone down the anxiety, the overly trying to push it, overly trying to win them over, overly trying to perform. Is this something you were lucky and kind of born with? Is this something you think can be taught? And if so, how can people begin to close that gap?
Pausing, buffering moment in my mind here. I'll put it this way. Let's go full therapy for a moment. I actually think I'm that is my way of coping with what I'm actually scared of on stage. Whereas I actually think I've got way more in the tank as a communicator, as a presenter, as a thought leader, and coffee shop Blake. It's safe. I'm like, oh, I've been like that my whole life. I'll be like that here. Instead of, wait, what would it be if I actually like dropped it into a whole other gear while I'm on this stage, connecting with this audience, which is like a precious gift, that kind of attention, that kind of time, that kind of impact. I mean, the level of impact we get to have on an audience, whether we suck or are amazing, is unlike any other kind of level of impact. So maybe it's literally that. It's like, well, I feel cozy at a coffee shop talking to family, friends, and people in my work world. I will transfer that directly to the stage and not even explore what it would look like if I like really flexed the muscle of, okay, I'm on this platform. I can do things here that I can't do in the coffee shop. What is possible?
I think that's a wise approach. Let's talk about a painful moment from your experience as a university speaker. I recall some of the edges of this particular experience for you, but talk us through the pains, the tears, and the lessons from Purdue University.
Gladly. I would love to. This is a life-altering, career-altering memory that I saw happening in real time. It wasn't like, oh, now looking back, I learned a lot. I'm like, I am learning so much right now, and this will serve me on this podcast with Josh in the future. So for context, this was an arena speech at the awesome Purdue University. And I guess, I don't know, I'd been speaking maybe 3 years professionally, 4 years. So I'd put a few hundred in the bag already. Like I wasn't new at this. And I actually received this gig as a referral from you, Josh Ship. And I believe the tone of the referral was something to the effect of, I would never speak in a venue like this. Do you want the gig? I was like,
that's very generous of me.
And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
I recall more of a gift than an insult like that, but okay, very well. A pawning off of something I didn't want to do. But that's fine. That's fine.
Well, we can look up old emails, but it was literally like, this is not set up in the way that I need. So maybe it is for you. Let me know if you would like to do this. I was like, yeah, let's go. I wasn't as mature as you in the business and self-aware of why this gig might have not been ideal. And so to paint the picture, this was a basketball arena, huge, like biggest building on campus at a very prestigious university, Purdue. And I was there to be the welcome speaker to the brand new students on campus. So they literally moved in that day. They started university that day. I was the welcome speaker. They moved in at about 7 a.m. I started speaking at 10:30 p.m. So that was interesting. Evening hour. And also, I hadn't spoken to an audience that large yet. This was 6,000 people in this arena. And it was sort of like lower bowl, upper bowl, like 3,000 at the bottom half, 3,000 at the top half. And I went on after like a bunch of like cheerleaders and dry ice and fog machines and fireworks. Like they were putting on the whole thing. And when there's like a warm temperature in a venue, how like fog sometimes goes to the ceiling, like the heat is visible.
Yes.
So there was visible heat. That was also another interesting factor. I'm like, oh, visible heat. Okay. And I brought a photographer with me. I hired a guy locally. I'm like, this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to like take pictures. It's going to be great. And I start my speech and I do my thing. And I always have guitar and live music woven into my talks. And so that was really fun to be like musical with 6,000 people in an arena. That was sweet.
Now, at this point in your career, like most, at what percentage did you think, like X out of 10 of my gigs go really well? Are you at the stage where you're like 9 out of 10 times? I get up there, I win them over. It's a great experience for everyone.
Yeah. Like I'd say 9 out of 10, 9.2 Canadian. So yeah, I was like high momentum in the skill set. As you said, in fighting shape for sure. So I start my speech, I do my thing, and one little thing that I could tell right off the bat is when I play my music at the start of the speech, I stand on a chair as like part of the story, like me demonstrating standing on a bed. And the chair had like a bit of a wobble in it. I'm like, okay, interesting. So slight tangent in my mind. And they didn't have a lapel or a headset. So I had to hold the mic. And when you have to hold a mic and play guitar, that means you need a mic stand. And when you're standing on a chair, you need to raise the mic stand to like 8 feet. So it was clunky. And I had done that before, but I had not done that level of clunk in a 6,000 person arena where everything is multiplied. Like 1 extra second multiplied by 6,000 arena humans equals like an extra lifetime on stage. So it was clunky. And then top row of the 6,000 people arena, like way up in the heat, 10:38 p.m. One person leaves. I'm like, well, bathrooms, it happens. It's like 10:38 p.m. Anyway, back to the speech. I'm doing my thing. And early in my speech, I see like someone join them. I'm like, oh, maybe they were like roommates and they're going to go together. I'm like, okay, whatever. And they're like way up. It's like I'm looking up a mountain and I'm seeing 2 skiers like exit the mountain.
Yes.
So whatever, stay in my lane. Keep talking, keep doing the thing. And there's an echo, like it's so echoey. Like, wow, which voice is mine? And then like 2 other people sort of head out from the back row. I'm like, okay. And then like a whole row starts to go.
Oh no.
And it's like one of those video games, sort of Tetris style, where it's like, oh, a whole row is now gone. Interesting. Am I winning or losing right now? And basically, when I was done, you can usually get a vibe from the event planner when you're done. If they're like, wow, you just changed our life, or we need to change our speaker. And it was a bit more like the second one of, hey, yeah, so you got your, like, you remember where you parked? It's like, yeah, I got it. That was cool.
Like, are you okay, sir?
And those intuitive moments of, well, this is where you can create more opportunities and build rapport and ask for introductions to other speaking events. And I was just like, tuning in, I feel like it's best if I just pack up and write a thank you card, because that is part of the process wherever I go. So yeah, that's the summary.
Amazing.
But the interesting piece is that some of the best professional photos of my entire speaking career are from that event.
Yes.
It has been like the main marketing photo on my website since that event. And the empty upper bowl combined with the smoky heat of the venue made for beautiful pictures.
Yes. Wait, what's going on in your mind psychologically as row after row of Tetris blocks are leaving? Are you trying, like, are you pushing and leaning in harder, saying, okay, that's the last row that's going to get up and leave. Like, I'm going to prove to them it's worth staying. Or are you kind of mentally spiraling and going, oh my gosh, this is not going well. Why did I do this?
I wasn't mentally spiraling because I know this is a part of the game where it's like sometimes you rock it, sometimes you get a bit more rocked, though this was the most rocked I'd ever been. So I wasn't like spiraling, but I was severely distracted during the whole talk. It was like this mental static while I was up there. I'm like, whoa, okay, it's more people. And to be honest, my biggest thought was my presence for the people who are staying. How am I doing there? Mm-hmm. Am I present or not? And what is the event planner in the wings who hired me for this? Like, what are they thinking in this every moment? Those were like the two distractions more than anything. And then I always believe, I'm like, no external factors are causing this. Like, this is all Blake. All of this is Blake. So there was no chatter of, is it the heat? Is it the hour? Is it the sound quality? None of that chatter came up because I'm like, this is entirely on me and I'll deal with that after I'm done the gig. So I removed that distraction, and I didn't really have that feeling of like, we're gonna hold, like no one else is gonna leave. And I don't know why. I guess to me that just feels like such a heavy job of like, we're gonna hold the last person here, instead of I'm going to be present and do my thing for whoever's here. And even though that is a shrinking number at this particular gig, we're going to do this. Plus, I know the way I've shaped all my keynotes, it goes up. Like we're climbing to a massive finale. And so I'm like, those people are going to miss the thing. These people are going to get the thing. And the thing at the end is going to be stellar. So I'll see you there.
It's a very mature approach. I think back to some of my early years, and I would regrettably have, a gig last week that went so well in such an ideal venue, an ideal setup, that the following week, if I was in front of an audience and it wasn't going not even poorly, but as well, I would begin to almost punish the audience that they weren't giving me a reaction, first off, that they were unaware of and had no context of, but sort of comparing that previous audience to the one in front of me. I mean, obviously looking back, that's such a immature and inappropriate use of the platform, but that's something, I find as speakers, if we're not careful, we can begin to not stay present as you did there at Purdue, and begin to compare and contrast, or unknowingly kind of punish the audience that's in front of us instead of being grateful for the audience that's in front of us.
Yeah, it's maturity has always been a word I've noticed in this business, because not saying I'm so mature, but rather I think this is an easy industry to be immature and still get accolades on accolades on accolades. So I've challenged myself to think, okay, how can we kind of high road this industry?
Mm-hmm.
Because not that you can fake it and succeed, but you can manufacture a lot and win for decades.
Yes. I mean, I feel like I had success early on as a speaker that was out of sync with my level of maturity. The level of success or influence I had, there was that gap. I'm curious. This kind of idea fascinates me. For other speakers, what do you if you're thinking, well, what areas of my speaking or speaking business are knowingly or unknowingly mature or immature? What else would you put on the left and right side of that sheet of paper? I mean, we kind of talked about the importance of presence and not punishing your audience for something that's not within their control. What else would you put as maybe an indicator of this is a sign of a mature speaker or speaking business, and this is a sign of like, hey, self-reflect. This might be an immature approach, and you might want to grow in that.
I think of just like what are your favorite metrics or your most meaningful metrics? Meaning, in the early days, I'd count laughs. I think that was immature. Like, oh, got a lot of laughs at that speech. That was awesome. I'm great. I am succeeding. Like, laughs was my measuring stick. And I think that was immature because it was just like fun to be funny. And then like number of gigs, I find is both mature and immature depending on like what that is being defined as. So if a speaker's measuring number of gigs in a year, let's say, just to be like, look at me, 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 that's not the most mature. Whereas to not count, like, how's the health of the business? How is momentum? How is money moving? What are we in the right places? Are we achieving the goals? I mean, counting gigs annually is a great way to assess those things. Like, hey, how's the health of the business? And are we above or below where we want to be? Air miles is another example. It's like there's a lot of people in the business where I find that immature might mean you're like trying to rake in miles in the sky just to like have the most miles in the sky when it comes to being on the speaker circuit. So maybe that's not the most mature. Whereas if that level of miles in the sky is in reference to, oh shoot, I find that after this many thousands of miles, like my health kind of gets shaky or my relationships get a little fractured, then maybe counting miles is beautiful because time away is the reference point. So I find for me right now at this stage in life, my metric that matters at this point, I said this to someone earlier today, for the first decade, I was focused on credibility. For this next season, I'm focused on flexibility. Got 2 kids under 2. That's like a very big season of life right now. And with the pandemic the last couple of years, I'm like, cool, I'm just going to like root for a little bit. So my metric these days is nights at home. Whereas to others, that might be like, that is the worst metric, or that is a dangerous metric, or if I count nights at home, my road warrior business is going to plummet and we're going to be in trouble for those that I need to support. So I just feel like it's this pendulum swing thing of what are you measuring, why, what stage of the business are you at, and are you measuring that thing for like vanity, or are you measuring that thing for sanity?
Well said. It seems like some of that stuff on the immature side of the sheet of paper is almost trying to posture approval from other speakers. trying to say like, hey, I belong in this space. I'm doing well. I'm doing as well as you or someone I admire. Looking back, do you feel like that was part of it? It wasn't even trying to prove to yourself or, more importantly, prove to an audience. It was more so trying to prove to peers or folks that you looked up to who were also speakers themselves?
I've never been asked that question, but real-time breakthrough, my answer is 100,000% yes. It was a peer-based thing because someone who's not in the business of speaking professionally, the fact that you can get $1 to give a talk, they're like, what? So you don't really need to like share all the things you've been doing. And family or friends, maybe there's a little bit there. Like if you're going to the annual holiday family gathering, it's like, yeah, I did 147 talks this year on the road. That's cool. Thanksgiving high five-age, maybe. But yeah, I think it's more the peer-to-peer thing. Like there was this quote I heard on a podcast forever ago, Voices of Experience by the National Speakers Association.
Yes.
And someone said on that podcast, do you tell people how many speeches you give in a year using the actual number or the number you say in the NSA hallway? Because in the industry hallway at the annual conference, maybe it's like, oh yeah, you know, like is that 366 days on the calendar last year, and it's like
It's
someone check this
7,000
guy's
speeches.
math. So that sort of answers your question of it's kind of a peer-to-peer measuring model in a lot of ways. And I find that in this industry, there's a lot of comparisonitis that comes up. I'm guilty of it, but sometimes even from like my closest, dearest friends, because it's such a visible business. You see when your peers are at work. You see when your peers are on the rise. You see things that you can instantly relate to. It's like if I see some of my buddies on Instagram just like snap a picture of an airplane ticket, I'm like, I know exactly what that moment is that they're in, where they're going, why they're going there, the impact they're going to have. And like fellow accountants can't really necessarily like step into that feeling when they see their buddies just in the zone at tax time.
So knowing that about yourself, that can be something you can get sucked into if you're not careful. How do you kind of hedge against that? Is the answer to number one, go, okay, there's something broken in me that I've got to fix or shift? Is it number two, for a period of time, I'm going to completely avoid kind of networking with other speakers, because not that it's their fault. It's like some people can go to the bar and have a drink, but I've realized maybe I, can't do that. So I'm going to intentionally opt out of that environment? Or is it being more selective about the speakers you network with and trying to get around people whose metrics match what your aspirational metrics are?
For me, it's having something I can focus on creatively. I find that's my approach to it. So as an example, there's a few different speaker associations that have sort of been tapping me on the shoulders for years of like, Blake, join, like join, come on, join. Why haven't you joined? And the analogy I often say to those folks is, especially the last few years, when I've kind of been like working to be local and flexible and like on the home front more than on the road, I said to them, I notice in some of the meetings I've come to that there's like a lot of just focus on and discussion around like number of gigs on the road in a year and like miles collected and hotel points redeemed. And I sort of feel like if I'm not mindful, that might be like some secondhand smoke, and I'm trying not to smoke as much right now, and the smoke be like road warrioring as much. So I've not joined those associations, even though I'd really like to, but I'm like, I don't know if that that may just be more distracting than productive currently. So there's that. Yes, so to section it off. But what I was saying before is I like to have creative projects. So there was a time when the creative project was speak my face off. Like that's the goal. Go speak everywhere. See ya. Time away? Yes. Time home? No. Now, because that sort of flip-flopped that equation, a couple of years ago, I decided I'm going to do 1,000 days in a row of a Facebook Live video, which was like 2 to 5 minute video thought about business or leadership or relationship building per day. And it honed me in. I'm like, I probably wouldn't have done that if I was like here, there, and everywhere. I could have, but I wouldn't have thought it. But while I'm more stationary in seasons of life, I can creatively like amplify consistently and bigger than maybe before. I need to sort of make a stage instead of get to one.
Mm-hmm.
And then similarly, back to the metric thing. Like my main metric right now is like nights tucking in my kids. That won't be the main metric always. It wasn't before, but currently that's the main metric. And so if I'm getting pulled by like, oh, my best pal just got like $20,000 to go tell jokes and inspirational stories on an island. Well, hang on. Back to the metrics. Like I'm reading a bedtime story right now, so why am I even on my phone?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be right back.
All right, so let me pitch you something. Are you someone that wants to launch and grow a speaking business? Maybe it's time to write and publish that book. Perhaps you want to create and sell your online course. Well, I've put together a free on-demand training video for you. It's not going to promise you the moon. It's not going to say it's going to happen quickly or without tears or sacrifice. But I'll pragmatically lay out for you exactly how to chart a course to do all these things we just talked about. You can find this free on-demand training video at stagepagescreen.com. That's stagepagescreen.com.
Now, back to the show. Well, Blake, I hear woven throughout your whole speaking career so far is that other-centeredness, and not just what do others think of me, but kind of what value can I bring to them, and that I hear that even as you're talking about your different metrics, that it's what's healthy for you and good for you and what's helping you grow, but it really is how can I provide the most value? I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm not true to these things. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thanks, Jesse.
Blake, let's dig into sort of your transition from stage to screen. Because it seems like most of your influence and impact right now primarily comes through you transmitting that message through a screen, whether it be these lives that you did, whether it be pre-recorded video that you're putting out, whether it be coaching sessions with groups or individuals on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, there's a psychological component that's tricky there, shifting from live gigging, road work, someone else sets it up, you just show up and do the thing. But I want to start this conversation with what you learned about the craft of it. So let's think back to Purdue. You know, there's a certain craft to there being you, the one guy down there on the gym floor talking to 6,000 versus you know, there's a camera right up close to you. Folks are really close to you, trying to inspire, impact, change via a screen. What have you learned about that different craft?
I find that like the analogy of surfing is coming to mind right now. I've only surfed a few times, but the analogy is coming to mind because I find that in-person speaking, you're like on a wave. You're going there. The energy is building. The second you leave your house, you're like at the gig mentally, emotionally. That whole lead up to actually doing your speech, it's like building this wave of energy that then you get to the event it's even more energy. It's like you connect with the planners, you get organized, you set up your tech and everything. Then the room starts to fill, the wave keeps building. And then when it's like, give it up for our speaker today, clap, 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 the wave is at its peak. And you just like surf onto the stage and bring it. So I almost feel like my experience is that every time I would be on a stage speaking in person, it's like I just got carried there. It's like I didn't even have to try. I just had to make sure I left my house on time. So there's that with my experience of in-person events, whether they're small, medium, or massive. On a screen, there's no wave. there's none of that. It's like, okay, my sandwich is done. I'm now going to make a message for the world. And it's such a standing start. Like it's the ultimate standing start. Unless you sort of jimmy it a bit with, hey, I'm doing some videos. I'm going to bring like 10 or 20 people into a venue because I'm recording, and that's kind of like hybrid. But I find it's the no wave factor. Like you're out on a surfboard and it is calm and you have seagulls and you need to like bring it in that moment. So there's that. I can expand unless you want to like chime in with a part B, but I'm about to expand.
Let's go further there. How do you overcome that standing start, that getting the wave going when you're in your office at home?
So I build the wave before I start surfing, meaning I committed to 1,000 days of Facebook Lives. That's a wave. That is like, okay, we just finished one. Great. See you tomorrow. 999 to go. So for me and my work style, I have to build in like incentive for myself. Like I'm a chase the carrot guy, and I am massively motivated externally. So if you were to look at my consistency going to the gym, let's say, alone, not great. If I have one other person I'll go to the gym with, or if I'm in like a group setting for fitness, I will never miss unless I say I won't be there tomorrow. So I try and structure my whole business and my brain and my life in that way, where if I know I would like to show up more on screen, well, I should probably tell the public that I'm going to, and I should probably incorporate a penalty that isn't punishment, but that's energizing. So when I did the 1,000 days, I said, if I don't post this Facebook Live by 6 p.m. Eastern every day, I will send someone $20.20 because I started in 2020. And I sent a lot of money over that project. Gentlemen, guess how much money I paid out for my 1,000 days? If I missed, I had to pay $20.20 to someone.
Okay, let's both get a guess here, Jesse. I'm going to go $370.
I'm going to go $371.
This is not the Price is Right.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
That's not divisible by 2020.
I want to showcase.
It was about $640 that
was what I
paid.
said. That's what I said.
Yeah. So,
ouch.
Round it up to, let's say it's $1,000. That sounds really foolish. Like, why would you do that? And if you have $1,000 in your 1,000 days of social media marketing budget, I think it went pretty far. So that's how I operate, is like build the wave in advance. If the social people around me energy is absent, I'll tell people like a future oriented thing that I'm about to do that they can like expect to see.
Let's talk about the business side for a moment of kind of using your message via a screen. With the speaking stuff, the doing speaking gigs, the stage side of things. That's very much a kind of wait around until your marketing or word of mouth or a referral brings you a signed contract that says, hey, if you show up on this date, we're going to ask you to speak and you're going to get X guaranteed money. What you've shifted into now, it seems like, is the inverse of that. You're sort of putting out content, thinking of different ways that you can monetize your skills and gifts. How have you thought about the business side of things and that what that business model would look like? And then where did you end up?
Buffering. Well, I was saying this to somebody recently that I feel like I've, in the last few years, become general practitioner. So when it was like purely keynote, Blake, I kind of did like one or two things on repeat hundreds of times. And it was so dialed. It was like, okay, let's do the thing, hit the switch, rock. Now, my main work currently, when I'm not giving speeches, is one-on-one coaching, leading group programs of my own on Zoom, and like interviewing folks, hosting people on those Facebook Lives. That's like my main modes often when I'm not giving speeches. And I have the gift and the curse of people keep asking me to coach them. So I don't really have to have like a super rock solid business model necessarily, because people keep saying like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Hey, I heard this. Someone referred me. It kind of comes in organically. The downside is I could still benefit immensely from getting as clear in the coaching space as I was in the keynoting space, like let's say 10 years ago. And I think it's that curse of knowledge thing. Back then, I only knew that I wanted to give talks to students and it'd be awesome for them. So that's all I did. And I did it great. Then you learn like, oh, you can also do this and also do that. And this is a business model and that is an approach. And then when you get success in multiple domains and you see impact and income from like 8, 9, 10, 11 different versions of how you work, it can sometimes get like distracting, but also fulfilling. So all that to come back around and say that for me, I've come to realize that one-to-one video for me is still the ultimate way for me to show up in the world, build rapport with others, and book business. And one-to-one video was actually one of my secret weapons when it was only about booking keynotes. So even though the keynote itself is an incredible marketing tool, I did some interesting ninja-ry with one-to-one videos that increased the number of times I got booked to give a speech.
Let's dig in on those one-to-one videos. When in sort of a sequence would you send them? Was it like a cold video to try to get them interested, or was it maybe once they sort of raised their hand and expressed at least some moderate level of interest? And what were you saying on those videos?
Okay, so here's an acronym that I've worked with and I've done some programs around. The acronym is ATOM, ATOM, which just stands for always top of mind. I live and breathe this stuff. If I see a pen in the mall with the word Joshua on it and Josh Ship pops into my mind, I will bust out my phone and make a quick video. Just be like, Josh, check out this pen.
I have received these videos. I can confirm this.
I hope you're awesome. What's a highlight in your world? And then I send it, and then I go back to the mall. And I don't put it in my CRM. I don't track it. I don't say this is lead gen. I literally saw a pen, thought of someone in my network. Instead of moving on with my day, I pulled that person into the moment, created a moment, sent them the moment, went back on with my day. I don't do it for marketing. yet it is incredible marketing. So after about 10 years of realizing, oh, this is a strategy, now it's something that I do more intentionally. But where in the process did I do those one-to-one videos? The moment that I thought of someone. So that was like kind of the synchronistic side of it. Oh, thought of them, sent them. And then the structured, more systematic side is, let's say I want to book a fall tour for back to school season. And let's say it's April. Okay, let's like start getting organized for back to school. I've been in this business for what, 12, 13 years. I still suck at cold emails. Like I suck at it. I don't send them. I feel weird. I'm like, I don't know. So even though I could get a list of like 48 billion schools and hit go, my old school brain kicks in and I literally send like a video to the 30 schools I went to last September. And I just send them a message, something to the effect of like, hey, I was literally going through my email, saw your info, thought it's been a while. Here's something that I really remember specifically about our event last September. There was a custodian on campus. I recall that custodian wore a bucket hat and was super passionate about it because it had the logo of the school. And people like referenced the bucket hat custodian guy. He was super nice. He helped me find an extra cable because my guitar cable wasn't long enough. So he like helped me get an extension cord. And I just remember that guy. So if you see him on campus, please say hello. Enjoy the wrap up to the school year. What's a highlight in your world? Or give me the one sentence description of what this year has been like. Or like these open loop questions, but I'm not asking for business. The response rate that I get on those things is so high. And a lot of the time, it then opens up a dialogue around, hey, Blake, like, are you available again? Or do you know a speaker? Because we'd love to have you in 3 more years. We've got the new group of like freshmen, but I end up in these business conversations because I show up at times that they don't expect to get a message. And I have this reputation of never really ending up in the flyer pile of speaker marketing brochures and such, because I still remember one day, like my biz partner, Dave, and I, one of the things we used to do at the end of every school year is we just sit in a coffee shop, call every school that we spoke at the past year. The receptionist would pick up, say, hey, it's Joshua School. And we would say, hey, we had the joy of speaking to your students sometime this year and just wanted to say, have a good summer to you. And is the principal Jesse there? Because we're just literally giving a 30-second, have a good summer, Jesse. And we'd love to say it live. We would just have a good summer. So many of our clients. And on that call, they're like, wait. Are you guys like, do you want to do this again next year? Maybe the year after? Like, that was awesome. Now, here's the kicker. You need to be awesome for this approach to work. So if you're not awesome, these thoughtful gesture messages are just thoughtful gesture messages. But when you kick ass, these thoughtful gesture messages are like, oh, they're messaging us. You know what? We should figure out if we want to do some more work right now. And
this is something I love about you, Blake. And I love it because it's completely the opposite of how my brain works. I go, that is awesome. And I see you working totally as you're wired, and it's a beautiful thing. So let me push back on some of my skepticisms and tell me where it's like I have a fair argument and where maybe I'm not seeing the big picture correctly.
Yeah.
So if you make, let's say, 100 of these have a great summer calls, because I want to set expectations for folks. How many of those would say, hey, wait, could you guys come back in August? Like out of 100 those thank you calls, are we talking 12 of those instances?
I remember there was a day where Dave and I were at a coffee shop in June. We made maybe 20 of those calls. We booked 4 before we left the coffee shop.
Amazing.
On the call, it was like, let's just get a date in the books. Yeah, okay, cool. Send us paperwork. So I don't have as many specific math memories as that day, but that day was very exciting to us because we were like, we literally just called people to say, have a good summer. And we just walked out of this coffee shop with, I mean, at that time, what would that have been? That was like, I don't know, $10,000 in revenue for September, October. And that to us was life altering at that time.
I'm glad you mentioned that, sort of the disclaimer that this only works if the product that you're pushing or that you have, the speech, is fantastic. So I would, you and Dave's my life online message was easily, Olympic scoring in the nines, somewhere in the nines, no question, 9 out of 10. If a speaker is first getting started and they can only choose one of two things, maybe their speech currently, if they're super honest, is like at a 5 or a 6, and everybody starts there. Should they spend, 6 months trying to get that to an 8? Or should they, even along the way, try to build, these intentional relationships, even though the product isn't where they want it to be?
I have a story to answer that question. Short answer is just like start, but here's the story. So when I was wanting to be a professional speaker, but had like no demo, no nothing, like just, who are you, man? Like, why would we bring you in and pay you money? At the time, I was working as a residence manager at a university campus, and my role meant I did training and development workshops for students as a part of the job. And I ran events and programs and things. So I did something called the 1159 series. What's the 1159 series? Well, on campus, meetings usually go until like 10, 11, sometimes midnight, because after night class, that's when the student leadership meetings happen. So they start around 10, they go to almost midnight. So 11:59 p.m., I started a workshop for anyone who would show up. And I would go to the different residences on my campus because I could, like, I would just be in the residences as part of my job. So I said, join Blake Fly at the 11:59 series. And I picked 10 dates. And so it looked like a tour, like these dates, these buildings on campus. And I talked about anything that I was excited about that would impact students. I gave a workshop on like how to be a great roommate. I gave a workshop on how to make cool and funny posters for events. I gave a workshop on public speaking skills, anything. And then I bought pizza for each of them because, show up, there's some food. So I could choose the dates. I could choose the venue. I knew I'd get a couple people from my network because I was in that space. And I'd say on average, the 11:59 workshops got 7 people in the audience. I talked for about an hour. I filmed it on a garbage handy cam. I took photos, usually self-timer. Like I literally had a digital camera at the back and I was just like, yeah, talk to a buddy, ask this question, run back, self-timer, 10-second countdown, get back up in front, gesture. All right, cool. No one even knew I was doing it. And then I would give out feedback forms at the end of the evening, which served as actual feedback. Hey, how can this suck less and be more awesome? And those served as testimonials as well. I would film some of them giving me feedback on camera for a testimonial, or just pure like, dude, this was garbage. I didn't get any of those, but I was open to it if they had to say that. And then I made a simple little PDF that literally showed like, Blake has spoken at, and I put the names of the residences, which seemed impressive. It's like, Blake has spoken at Perth Hall, Maitland residence. Like I literally put the campus map on my PDF.
All those names sound very majestic.
Right. It's like Harry Potter tour.
It's very Canadian.
The 11:59 series was my way to literally put myself on a speaking tour, up my skill, up my network, build relationships, increase rapport, get referrals, and then show people like, yeah, I do this. So if you'd like me to do it with your students, we can have a conversation. So I say that because these might be fighting words, so feel free to edit this out if you need, but I don't think you need a demo to start a professional speaking business. I think you need to be honest, vulnerable, and entertaining in what you don't yet have as marketing assets in your favor. So if you have nothing but like some locations and some topics, get there. Like talk to 3 people, film it, get some feedback. If you don't even have that, one-to-one videos can be so powerful because you can email someone barely warm, like cold to warm. Maybe it's like a friend of a friend's mom who's a principal. And you can, in that video, call out all the things that they hope you have, but you know you don't yet. It's like, do you have a website? I don't have a website yet. Do you have a demo? I don't have a demo video yet. Have you spoken anywhere? I've actually spoken nowhere yet. And you basically build like a risk tour. Like, I'm a risk, okay? This might not even be that strong. My goal is to be in 20 schools in the next 4 months, and I'm new. And if you're willing to just take a chance on this guy with the hat in the video, I would just love to speak to 20 students on these topics. And if you're thinking, I don't trust this dude, you're probably not even that good, amazing. I'm just looking for a decision. Are you a no thanks, or are you let's chat some more? And you can leverage your weaknesses into a whole freaking speaking tour, eventually business.
That's really good. Looking back, how quickly did you think things were going to happen? And if you had to circle back, how would you sort of set expectations now and say, here's kind of the roadmap of what healthy growth looks like?
I'd say it comes down to skill and network. So it depends on your skill level and your network size. Not even quantity in your network of people, quality of relationship in your life. So every dollar I earned from my previous job, I got like professional development money. I put all of my professional development money in my former job to hiring speaker coaches. A lot of that went to this guy on this podcast, Josh Shipp. Every penny was worth it. So I upped my skill and I upped my ability just by getting coaches in my corner instantly. Like, I've been coached heavily for 13, 14 years. So that was one for the skill development. And then network. This is where I think some people either fail to appreciate this is available, or they think, darn, that's not available for me. And what I mean by that is I kept incredible relationships with colleagues and a couple past teachers, not for business purposes, but just by being a decent human. And so when I finished my job at that university, I emailed about 22 people who I saw at the annual conference. Other universities would gather once a year. We'd learn some stuff, see speakers, whatever. I emailed all of those individuals who I knew from the conference, and I said, hey, just wanted to tell you I'm not at the conference this year. It's been fun meeting you each year at the conference. I really appreciated those moments where we blank, like I'll just share a memory or a moment or a way they impacted my life. Enjoy the conference this year. Won't see you. All the best, Blake. Like I said, I'm on to different things now. All the best, Blake. Everybody replied asking me, what am I doing next? Okay, let's market. So all I did was thoughtfully conclude my colleague relationships. They asked, what are you doing now? So I told them. But if I didn't nurture those relationships over the year or two prior, that wouldn't have gone that way. And past teachers, I literally sent them an email and I just told them, hey, here's what I'm doing now. Could I call you and ask you some questions about what you think would be really like impactful for students these days as I design my presentations? And they didn't even answer my question. They're like, I don't care. Get in here. You should speak to my kids. Okay. So it happened fast for me because I had some super high rapport, high quality, trusting relationships. And these people were willing to just throw me in front of their student groups. And then when you combine that with the decent skill that I had because I was being coached already by folks like Josh and others, the referrals started to click basically right away. But I got into schools and in front of audiences relatively quickly because I could make an ask from my current network because I was top of mind a lot. I sent them goofy messages often. I kept in touch. I wasn't the guy who said, hey, it's been 5 years, but I need a referral for my new job. It was, hey, it's been 12 days since I sent you that meme. And now I've got this thing on my mind. So I don't want to minimize it, but I do want to give it a bit of credit where if you show up in people's life when they don't expect you to show up only for the purpose of letting them know that you're thinking of them and like, hope you're having a great day. This stuff is like that form of currency is extremely powerful and valuable. And I mean, even me and you right now, Josh, the fact that I'm in this conversation with you, it's a series of hundreds of tiny things, but some of those tiny things were those like just unexpected moments of, hey, Josh, what's up? And then bam, we're back in dialogue. I don't even know if I answered your question, but I had fun sharing it.
A theme I hear through a lot of what you talked about today is kind of quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
In, this network, the relationships, not sending, scripted, templated, cold emails, but thoughtful messages with a touch of whimsy that were thoughtful and strategic, sure, but that wasn't the primary purpose. What do you think is a size of contacts that's appropriate and realistic to maintain that depth with? I mean, are we talking this, this is like a network of 100 people in your phone that you might, text a photo of a pen? Can it be more than that? Should it be smaller? If someone's going, I can relate to Blake's style of marketing, there no doubt people going like, hey, that's kind of how I'm wired too. Is there a quantity of expectation of contacts that they should go? This is kind of the healthy range of folks that you can do this quality work with.
I mentally work in 100. That doesn't mean I've got a spreadsheet that caps at 100. That doesn't mean that I've got like a cadence where I'm thoughtfully touch pointing those 100. But in my mind, I'm pretty good with 100 relationships without like needing notes. And again, it's the double-edged sword. My Achilles heel is doing things in mass, doing things at scale, creating systems that deploy way beyond my capabilities. But my superpower is these touch points, these moments, these ways of being so upfront about, you might not even want to hire me. And that's cool. I'm just sending you this message in case it's a season in your school year where you're looking to bring someone in. And if I'm not the guy, I've got some great people in my world who might be perfect. So I'm just looking for best next steps. Like it's showing up in that way of almost being unbookable that leads to these bookings. So the 100-person list is kind of what I'm usually in the arena of all the time.
And would you be disciplined about this kind of size to the point of if someone in that network who you did enjoy, but they were now no longer kind of relevant to the work that you were doing? It's not like, you're writing this person off and you wish them ill, but you would go, it doesn't make sense for me to, continually invest that time there because this is an area I'm no longer focused on.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Again, I'm not organized enough to be like, they are now off that database. But I wouldn't put as much energy towards that relationship. Yet if that person just popped into my mind, I'd still probably like send them a note of sorts. Like I remember probably 2021, I sent a lot of my speaking clients like a one-liner email of just, hey, hope you're well. I know this time is wild. What's one lesson you've learned about, life and your career in the last 18 months? Hope everyone's safe. Be well, Blake. I just did it as like I genuinely was curious. Like, hey, what's going on out there? How you doing? What have you been learning? And I booked stuff. And it wasn't like a marketing campaign. It was literally, hey, these people are on my mind, so I'll just message them. Maybe I'll get some bookings, but that's not the leading intention. So those people, if they don't sort of serve a purpose anymore, yeah, they might not get as much headspace from me, but everyone still gets thought of you. I'll send you a message, regardless of if they were in my world 25 years ago or 25 minutes ago.
Is there something you used to believe passionately about sort of the speaking world, the speaking industry, that now you look back on and you sort of passionately disagree with, that you don't think is as important, or maybe even perhaps with kind of the proliferation of folks who are, teaching on the business of speaking, you go, this is like a shiny distraction and something you shouldn't even dabble in your first 5 years. But it sure is fun to look at and think about, but looking back, it's a distraction.
I was on a podcast once with, again, Dave, business partner, friend, top U speaker, homeboy, and he asked me, he's like, at any point when you started your speaking business, did you think this wouldn't work? I just gave an instant no. And I rarely give such concise answers with such confidence, but I never had a flicker of doubt if this would work. So an early belief about the speaking industry I had was that this is going to work for me, guaranteed. A recent belief I have on the speaking industry is this is still going to work, guaranteed. Instead of getting caught up in the, I'm not on the road as much. I'm not in my 20s anymore and like hip. I have a wife and children, so it's just different. Like I do hear those beliefs in the speaking space, especially the youth speaking space of, dude, I saw a 30th birthday card in your office. I don't know if you can go out and talk to kids anymore. You realize you're like in your 30s or more? But this will work, guaranteed, if your skill is on point, if your heart is on point, and if your relationships are taken care of.
And do you feel like that's something that's emphasized enough, or that's something that someone who's starting out might listen and go, well, that's good for you to say, but that's because you've already sort of made it. You already sort of have that traction.
I think it's incredibly unhelpful what I just said. If someone's at the very, very, very start line, if they're not willing to be very vulnerable, like the disclaimer to my whole world is be willing to just say, here's my flaw list. Whereas I find a lot of people in speaking, they diligently hide out and work to build materials to make them look flawless. And then they hope they get booked. Whereas I'm like, as long as you're willing to say, there's like 10 things on this list you probably need to see in me to feel confident in booking me. I've only got half of one of those 10 things. And I actually think we can work with that. I think we can build something here if you're willing to take a long shot on me.
I love that. Well, Blake, thank you, sir. This was a glorious, interesting, and fascinating conversation. How can folks find you, reach out to you? Tell them what you're up to these days.
Well, are we on a hard clock? Or can I tell a 2-minute closer?
You do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Oh, well, in that case,
Here we go.
In that
I've lost control.
Well, for starters, how can people find me? I love giving out my cell phone number on podcasts because people don't. So here's my cell phone number. You can text me. It goes right to me. I have no systems.
You're going to get signed up for all kinds of stuff. Here we go.
So what's my number? 647 987 4359. That goes right to my cell phone. And all you need to say is like where you heard me. Stage, page, and screen. I'm not going to put you on a list. I literally don't even know how to set up the software. So I just love it because it's a cool way to connect with actual humans who listen to an episode like this, learn some things, want to have a conversation. So text me if you want. Secondly, Instagram. I hang out there relatively often, and my name on Instagram is BlakeFly, and my website is blakefly.com. And the number of people who text me direct off a podcast is fascinating. Like the relationships that can spark off the tail end of that, some of my most fun interactions ever.
Do you get some weirdos too? I mean, I want to hear the weirdo stories.
So
I'm gonna text you some weird stuff too.
So far, no weirdos.
All right, well, but it's gonna happen today.
I guess this is the place. The thing I wanted to share, 2-minute style, was there was something super exciting in 2014 that I think links back to all this around moments and relationships and like authenticity, who you are on stage, off stage. In 2014, I got an email from you, Josh. Super simple. It was just like, hey, I'm speaking in Canada. It's like a pretty packed schedule. You want to join me and like help drive? Because it's a lot of driving. And I literally might need to take some naps in between the gigs. At that time, I was in my business. I was doing a lot of work. It was going well. But access to mentors was like the coolest thing for me. Time in conversation with mentors. I probably moved 20 commitments to say yes to just like being the driver somewhere in Alberta, Canada, so that Josh, you and I could just be in road mode for 3 days. I could watch you do your thing. Josh asked if I wanted to do like a little sort of 5-minute opener at each of those talks. I think you gave like 10 talks in 3 days. So for me, that was a lot of like 5-10 minute openers, which was really cool. And I remember Josh runs a lot. I don't. And again, in the early days, any days really, but whenever there's a mentor that you want to learn from, just hours on the clock are really exciting. It's like you get a lot of wisdom and insight and rapport in those moments. So there was a day, Josh, where you're like, I'm going to go for a run. Do you want to come? I'm like, how far are you running? You're like, I don't know, 10 miles. I think I had run 1 mile since grade 4 cross country at that point. I'm like, yeah, just get my shoes. And I'm like on this run with Josh. It is so far for me. The stomach cramps were severe. My legs were like hating me. But I remember we went running, we did gigs, we road tripped, we went to a movie. And that's not to say like, look, we became BFFs. Rather, that was such a hack to get so much insight into the business and the relationships that I wanted to build. And some people might take that opportunity as like, yeah, sure, I'll help drive, and like ask you a ton of questions and bend your ear. But also it was hey, can I ask you stuff on this trip? Or is like that not cool? Because I also know like you've got programs that I've been in as your coaching client. And you were super generous with like stories, ideas, inputs on my business at that time. So all this to say, these kinds of things can only happen when you actually get a lot of joy out of building meaningful relationships in ways that like maybe others don't take the extra 12 minutes to do, because you can't scale this stuff. But this stuff can lead to really cool things at scale. So thanks for the road trip in 2014.
Yeah, man. I remember kind of 30% of that experience. I don't remember it being 10 miles. I think here we might have a US-Canada conversion difference, but I'll take your word for it. And my side of that was you were not a complete stranger to me. You were in one of our YSU coaching programs. And I thought, okay, Canada, I got to do all this driving. This guy seems cool, diligent, not weird, not needy. So I thought, let me reach out to him and see if he'd be willing to do me a favor. And then sure, I'll let him pick my brain a little bit. But he doesn't seem like the sort of person that would just be all that. And I think, that's something we can all learn and all sort of posture ourselves in that position to folks that we want to learn from, which is, to be helpful to them. And in turn, there's wisdom to be garnered.
Absolutely. Josh, you have had a massive dent on my world, my business, my life, my family. So this was fun to be the early conversationalist in this awesome podcast series.
How did it go? You were one of the finest interviewers I know. Tell me one thing that went well here and one thing I need to improve upon.
I'm going to flip the order because I'm not as hard on myself as you are. So I'm going to start with the improve here and I'll end with the celebration.
Very well. Very well.
I think thing to improve on could be we could have bantered more. I think we could have bantered. I think we could have, added more laugh tracks to this.
We can get them in there.
That's not a bad thing. It's just, I think I was too devoted to say something that was hopefully helpful instead of just riff, giggle, wiggle while in the interview. So
we're giggling now. So there's
that.
There we go. Yeah. And I think what made it awesome is that you brought full Josh Shipness to this, meaning the setup of the process was just clear, straightforward. Here's what's happening. See you then. Click this link. And pre-interview, I saw a keynote deck. Never seen a keynote deck pre-interview of any podcast. So very much in alignment. And your questions were the full Josh Ship triad. One part data and specific tangible goodness for the business. One part philosophical existentialism. And then one part, can I challenge you on that? / maybe we can have a healthy debate here just so I know that it's actually relevant and resonant for those who are tuned in. And the fact that I believe I'm an early interviewee on this podcast, I don't take that lightly because kind of like that 2014 road trip, sounds like you needed to get a sure thing here for the first go.
Yes.
I don't know if I was that, but the fact that I was thought of in that light is cool.
You were thought of in that light and you delivered it.
Absolutely.
So well done.
Thanks.
More giggling and tickling and wiggling or whatever you said next time.
Maybe we'll edit that part out.
No, we're going to leave that in. We're definitely going to rename the podcast then.
That's going to be the shout out, the call out.
Giggle and wiggle and scale. That's
It's a great new children's show.
We're going to get some concerning SEO results from that, but I'm good with it.
Oh my goodness. And Jesse, thank you for mediating in case anything got out of hand.
Absolutely.
It was key.
Brother, you really do. You bring so much
he
joy
seems sweet and calm.
Yeah, that's right. I'm ready at any moment to slash somebody's throat. But no, just your joy, your warmth, your authenticity, your vulnerability. It's such a powerful thing and such a gift to people. I think especially in this kind of setting where we want to be the best we can be. We want to grow this and grow that. But here's how it begins and here's where it continues. And so, yeah, I appreciate your time, man.
Well, thank you both. This was a blast. What a fun way to spend a Thursday. I've never talked to Josh on a Thursday. So
he's very different, isn't he?
Cool.
It's like a different tone, different hair.
So different. Taller. Yeah.
Very tall. Taller. He's on a box.
Okay.
Thanks, brother. You can go.
See you guys.
Okay. We'll see you later.
Jesse's got a lot on his mind right now.
I'm just going to go ahead and...
go ahead, Jesse. Get it out.
Okay. See you, Blake.
Later.
Let's hang out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, Blake. Thank you so much.